And it shall come to pass, in the last days, saith the Lord, I will show wonders in the heaven above, and signs on the earth beneath, blood and fire, vapor of smoke. The sun shall be turned into darkness, and the moon into blood, before the great and manifest day of the Lord come. Acts 2:17-20. We have seen wonders in the heaven above, and signs on the earth beneath. But what does this prophecy mean when it says, the sun shall be turned into darkness, and the moon into blood? How can the moon turn into blood? As some people might already know, during a full lunar eclipse, when the moon is behind the shadow of the earth, the moon will actually turn red. Now one might expect, since the moon is behind the shadow of the earth, and the light of the sun can't hit it, that it would just go dark. But since the earth has an atmosphere, the light of the sun will hit Earth's atmosphere, curving around it, and hitting the moon, turning it red. Here's a time lapse of a total lunar eclipse. Although total lunar eclipses are relatively common, what isn't common is something called a tetrad. A tetrad is 4 consecutive total lunar eclipses, with no intervening partial lunar eclipses. People often refer to a tetrad as 4 blood moons. In 2014, another tetrad will start, bringing in another 4 blood moons. The first blood moon will be April 15th, 2014. The second blood moon will be October 8th, 2014. In between the second and third blood moon on March 20th, 2015, there will be a total solar eclipse, possibly fulfilling the beginning of Acts 2:20. The sun shall be turned into darkness. The third blood moon will be April 4th, 2015. The fourth and final blood moon will be September 28th, 2015. I think these 4 blood moons are the fulfillment of Acts 2:20, because right after the first blood moon starts, on April 15th, 2014, the Vatican II Counterchurch will quote canonize John Paul II. John Paul II, who was wounded and healed. John Paul II, who the world adored. John Paul II, the 6th King of Rome. John Paul II and the throne of the Antichrist. John Paul II, who praised false religions. John Paul II, who kissed the Koran. Since John Paul II was a non-Catholic heretic, he was not the Pope, but an anti-Pope. He was also much more. John Paul II was the Antichrist, and was the fulfillment of Our Lady's prophecy at La Salette. Rome will lose the faith and become the seat of the Antichrist. The church will be in eclipse. This prophecy dovetailed with the Latin phrase given to him by St. Malachi, which translates to, of the eclipse of the sun. Although John Paul II's, quote, beatification did all that was necessary to fulfill Revelation 13:15, I believe his, quote, canonization by the Counterchurch will be the apex of the adoration of John Paul II, thus further fulfilling Revelation 13:15. And it was given him to give life to the image of the beast, and that the image of the beast should speak, and should cause that whosoever not adore the image of the beast should be slain. Revelation 13:15. When the Vatican II Counterchurch makes anti-Pope John Paul II a, quote, saint, people will adore the beast, who is drunk on the blood of the saints, under the 4 blood moons.